Hello and welcome to This Contains Garlic. You are here with your hosts Georgia Garlic
Mark Garlic.
and we are back for episode 4. Mark is not going to use a different language to say 4 today, are
Yeah, I'm
you?
very limited when it comes to my vocabulary in other languages, unfortunately.
I would say that one of my biggest regrets growing up, completely
Yes.
off topic, was not
Yeah.
being like bilingual. Why did my
Should
parents
have
not?
paid more attention
I
during
was
French
told, I was
lessons.
told like not to take an extra language at school. They were like, I just don't think this girl is really capable of learning another language.
Yeah.
Although that is the problem with the educational system, and that's definitely not what we're talking about in
No.
episode 4.
Today we're going to be covering expectations and searching for gratification externally.
Yeah, so there is obviously a difference between gratification and receiving gratification for things you've done obviously well, or just, I guess, the general nice compliment.
Sure.
But then there is the sort of dark side to seeking gratification, which I would say, and probably you would agree, has come very much down to the rise and popularity of using social media.
Yeah, I think a lot of people like to obviously be complimented for all the hard work that they've put into their personal progression, but sometimes seeking, um,
I guess comments or I guess
yeah,
when you go through like any kind of journey, maybe you've lost weight, or maybe you've started to build muscle, or maybe you've started exercising more, or something along the lines. It is one of those very big conversation starters in
yes,
situations.
for sure.
I think it's probably one of the easiest conversations to hold with somebody, if I'm
It
honest with
always
you.
happens. Like whenever we're in a social situation, people are always talking
You
about
know what?
some form of dietary
Yeah,
requirements, or I do CrossFit, or I do this, and what do you think about this? And
especially if you work in the industry and you're around people that don't
yeah,
work
and
in the
if
industry,
you
then you're
lose
always going.
weight or add a bit of muscle mass somewhere, people are always very
There is this thing, I think, when you've made progress, it is one of those things where you're likely, if you've made progress in your life somewhere, to feel more confident. And so when you shine confidence, if that's even a word, if you show that you're confident in something, then I think more people around you, it's that kind of thing manifesting, you know what I
I
mean?
think
Where
we also need to talk about the reality of what the actual situation is like. And from judging from our experience with over a decade of experience in the industry, the sad reality is the gratification that you're seeking from other people is very rarely found.
Yeah. Well, I think from the closest around you, sometimes it's very rarely found. And from those that don't know you, it's quite
Yeah.
easily
So the
found.
people that you most expect to kind of bat for your side rarely don't, and people that generally you think probably don't put that much care or emphasis into your own personal journey actually show up to be sometimes some of the biggest supporters.
Yeah, but I also think that's really weird. I think that, I think from personal experience, when I lost a huge amount of weight, I'll be brutally honest, if you're going into the dark side of things, when you've done some kind of change like that of some degree, you are going to, I guess, show it off more. And I think with the use of stuff like social media and being able to upload literally every angle of yourself or your life and stuff like that, that you start to then have these relationships with people online who are just like there because you've like lost weight. It's a bit weird, actually, to be quite
Yeah.
honest with you. But sometimes I find that it can come down to, in the closest of environments, I would say that it's quite a big statement, but I'd say 70% of the people surrounded you in your close environment will not give a fuck that you've made
No.
any kind of progress. Maybe
Leading
even more.
into a question that I was going to ask you, from our experience, how many husbands, for example, boyfriends, have supported their wives or girlfriends' personal progress, and how many, to a certain degree, not self-sabotage them, but one moment sticks out for me a lot was when we were training clients in Chelsea.
Oh,
Georgia
God.
was training a woman and was getting fantastic results, and she then shared her training program with her boyfriend, who then, you know, thought within his own egotistical capacity that he somehow knew more than people that were actually qualified.
Oh my God, I'd actually totally forgotten about that one. I never forget things, but I do put things back in my
And
mind.
a lot of our clients are obviously female and things like that. So what percentage would you put on husbands and boyfriends being supportive
Okay,
as
so
opposed to not being
we might have
supportive?
an argument here. It won't be an argument between me and you, but this might be a bit controversial. I would say a lot of a lot of men in general. Now, this is not everybody, and this is not in any way coming across like I'm being a feminist to any degree, but it is true. And from a coaching manner of like, just because I'm a female trainer does not mean I've dealt with many male clients, and I have dealt with male clients. Sometimes a lot of men prefer to have a female trainer to the
That
male
is
trainer,
true.
but they also don't like listening, like in every sense. And I think
Exactly.
we've kind of been brought up generation after generation, and it's changing, I'd say, a little bit now. But well, is it really? Maybe the outer layer is changing, but the depth behind it is that men have always been like sort of known more. Do you know what I mean? They've
In
always
inverted
been,
commas.
in literally a vertical.
Yeah.
They've always had not every man in
But
any sense, but
what percentage would you put the amount of supportive people, especially male figures, around female individuals, so actually supporting their personal
minimum,
journey?
to be quite honest with you, I would say that actually majority of the time that I've had a female client, they actually come to me and they go like, my husband hasn't even like, they might have lost like 20 kilos in weight, which
Exactly.
is absolutely mega. Do you know what I mean? Have made huge progress in their life, every
Yeah.
aspect. They are smashing life to a degree, but yet their husband's like, hasn't even said, you know what, you
Or
look
says the
fantastic.
completely
Or
opposite.
yeah, and I think, or says the complete opposite. Oh, you need to change more, or you need to
Yeah.
do more. And I think that in its own right is really fucked up. Like, but I know many, many women who deal with relationships with people where they don't really support them. It
No.
could also be like, we have clients to us that come to us who have relationships where potentially they feel like their partner sabotages their progress
Exactly. On the
on
weekends,
the
especially.
weekends, or they're like, oh, come on then, let's have this or do
Yeah.
that. And that's not obviously a supportive environment. But coming back to seeking gratitude, I think your nearest and dearest, if you are making huge progress in your life, in a way you should be not seeking it, because I think that you should also be very happy in your own skin and be comfortable in your own skin. But I think that is easier said than done. I think this whole thing of guys, like, be confident in your own skin, like you are you, like all of this is actually sometimes really hard to do, being brutally
It's
honest.
just
Like,
throwaway statements.
and then you go onto social media and you'll see somebody who you'll immediately compare yourself to as well. And I think that's another thing where you're like, oh, wait, I've done really shit, or I haven't done well enough, or I need to do better, or why do I not look like something, that somebody else. But I think a sense of relationships, like, you need the person that's around you the most, like, to be supportive of your journey, because it is one of these things where if they're not,
It's going to be an uphill battle.
yeah.
And sometimes change makes people feel uncomfortable. So you can be undergoing or wanting to undergo your own personal growth, and you start making adjustments to your life and your self-care habits. And sometimes people project themselves onto you in terms of not being supportive because they can see you going through positive changes and they just can't seem to pull the trigger on their
I
own.
would throw a word in there called jealousy. There is,
Yes.
it happened with me. I'm not here to just go in fucking the depths of life, but like, I would definitely say that, there are points where people are jealous of progress that you potentially have made, or potentially people don't view you, they always view you as somebody that you used to be rather
Yeah.
than somebody that maybe you have adapted to being, or actually starting to live a life that you're very happy with. But people always constantly need to bring up who you used to be like, or what you
Or
used to
bring
be
you
like.
down using your old self. Let's call it like that.
Oh my
Let's
God,
say
that
you've
has
lost
happened
tons of
so
weight.
much
You've
throughout.
lost loads of weight, and you're looking good, and then because you used to be a larger size or a bigger size, someone still calls you a fatty or something like that, which is
I
It's
actually think that like,
not justifiable.
yeah, I think they always, it's like, oh, you used to do this, or it's
Yeah.
like, well, funny that I can
Yeah, that
actually
was six
fucking
months ago.
change, thanks. I mean, it's 6 months, more like
Or
60. It will come up. There
oh
are,
yeah.
you've got sort of, you know, once I went to therapy. Once I didn't go. Yeah, when I went to a therapist, she tried to explain like how to, because I used to very much struggle when people used to be like, well, you used to do this or you were like this. And I used to be like, for fuck's sake, why do they not view me for who I am now? Like, even if I'd had 15 years in an industry of working as them, helping thousands of people, people would still potentially view you as who you used to be. And then this therapist once told me, she said, yeah, but you've got to imagine that you've been on the earth for, say, X amount of years. And if somebody is around you in that close environment, has also been around you for X amount of years, potentially a parent or a sibling or whatever, then they are going to view you for the largest period of time that they've known you, which is true, because if you've made change for the past 5 years, it still doesn't outweigh the past 30 or the past 20 or the past, because people remember you for those years.
Yeah.
And it is one of those things that actually kind of helped me go, okay, well, now I kind of see why people view it that way. Like, we're always stuck in the old. It's like when you move like maybe when you move out when you're a child, like when you go back to your like home, place, nothing's ever changed. The same when you go back, it's always the same. And I think it is that kind of way of thinking as well. But I think going off of what we spoke about at the start, where we think seeking gratification has gone wrong, it is social media.
Yeah.
And
especially you're seeking gratification and some form of acceptance from complete strangers.
Yeah.
And one thing that we cannot stress more, and we will always touch on pretty much every single podcast, I'm pretty sure, is that social media is fake.
Yeah.
And it is basically everybody's highlight reel. So you're not seeing the arguments, you're not seeing the confrontation, you're not seeing the sadness, you're not seeing the jealousy, you're seeing the holidays, you're seeing the designer bags, you're seeing
the nice body and the thing and the this and a bikini and a that and
I'm
flexing.
so happy and I'm so confident, and it's all charades.
I think there is a lot of what we call toxic positivity on stuff like social media. I think it's this whole thing that people try to be relatable. No, I think at the start, because it used to be just a photo, which was wonderful, to be quite honest with you, because at the end of the day, it was just a photo. I mean, you didn't need to know the ins and outs. But now it comes down to people uploading they've been to the gym because they've been to the gym. Now they need somebody to go, well done with the clapping. Now somebody's eaten a salad.
But it's also the expectation that because everybody's so toxically positive on social media, that's the way life pans out. And then when you actually generally in a real life situation and you realize, oh, okay, maybe some people aren't very nice and so toxically positive all the time, and some people say really nasty things.
But you still compare it. Like somebody asked me the
other day,
why
isn't everybody so nice? And sometimes it's just
they said,
reality.
I had my first argument with my boyfriend. Like, is that normal? And I was like, yeah, like literally I've already had like 10 this morning with Mark. Like literally I was like, if I didn't tell him how much of an arsehole he was on a day-to-day basis, we wouldn't be married. But I think it is one of these things where it is so to a degree going off of gratification, maybe as I said, comparing yourself to others. When you go on something like social media, now you have every part of somebody's life that you can view. And do not get me wrong, this we used to work with very, very well-known people, and I would, big statement, but it's true, 98% of those, especially female being my clients, were heavily insecure, to the point where I was like, whoa, okay, how do you even do the job that you do? Because you're there effectively.
How many times have you been emailed or messaged or WhatsApped and told to delete photos or things of sessions because
sessions I don't look good
I've got a role here, or that's not the right color, or
Mark,
okay, let's background.
just so Mark used to when we were obviously a little bit of a brief view, we spent a lot of our time southwest London, normally in the parts like Chelsea and Kensington, training individuals, and it was wonderful. And those that are listening that were our clients, then hi. But Mark did used to train a lot of well-known individuals, and he got very, very good at having to be the right angle of camera.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't Jesus Christ,
Yeah,
you'd
you
be
gotta-
blocked. Do you know what I mean? Like literally, you've got to remember these people were doing it like a squat thrust. That's a very good example. A squat thrust. And if it wasn't right, the squat thrust,
I'm just
people would
having
ask me
flashbacks.
to like we would have just done like some intense strength session, like really like compound movement stuff that's legit, and the photo would be them hanging on a bar doing some abdominal
it's-
exercise. They didn't even do that in the session.
Yeah.
So it was like, I want to do this because it looks nice.
It looks good for social
It
media.
looks good for social media, and it's some fucking hanging thing. They can't even do more than one rep. Let's just remember this. And they're doing it just to take a photo because they look good in it. Like, and this
Sure.
is the thing. And they're posting it to their followers, or maybe you, in the sense if you follow these individuals, like. And they're going, great workout this morning. And it's like, what
It's
the
got
fuck?
nothing to do with anything that we did, but it's fine.
It's fine. Like, now we look like we don't do anything beneficial.
Yeah.
Like, great. It was always very, very particular exercises that could be shown. And if it was wrong, or you potentially, I don't know, like.
But it's always seeking gratification
Always.
and acceptance from other people and individuals that literally have almost 0% impact on your day-to-day life.
Like literally zero impact. But that was when it wasn't even sharing your life via like stories
that
and
was
reels. Like,
pre-stories
we're going to make a
and-
big statement here. Like, fuck reels, TikTok.
Yeah, that's a story
Fuck,
for another
why
day.
are we going down this route? Like, why is the world going this way? But we've just got to run with it. Like, I've never hated trying to learn off a video less. Like, I find, like, I don't go onto social media now on my own to, like, I'm sorry to say, I haven't followed so many people, so many things, because I just can't deal with it any longer. And I think a lot of people ask us on our Arrow Club Instagram, actually, like, who the fuck we are. Like, can we follow you? Like, and I'm just like, do you want a
Why
picture of
would
my
you?
dog? Like, literally, like, it's, we used to
Yeah.
post a lot of client content, but it was never really us, barring like our few wedding photos or me
I
and
guess
Mark
it's
on
slightly
holiday.
different if you run a business and
Yeah, so
then
different.
you have your own personal account, because posting for business reasons and things like that is slightly different. You need to draw
Yeah,
and
and I
attract
think
your
that
market.
like I'm very prepared to do that because we have a purpose with the Arrow Club and everything that we're building around the Arrow Club, which sneak preview, we are building stuff, building to be able to actually really help people, in education and free resources, like worldwide, ideally, fingers crossed, who knows. Anyway, it's one of those things that our passion was to do that, and I feel like I was very much prepared to do that on our social media for business, but like I'm just not prepared to do it on my own.
But when you do those things, you do get people coming out of the woodwork that you would generally never expect to congratulate you on your own personal accomplishments. But you will, like, going back to what we discussed, is that people generally around you may not be as receptive. So what do you then have to do? You then have to become your own cheerleader. You then have to have quantifiable goals that you can then slowly work off and achieve, so that you can get your own level of self gratification and self fulfillment.
Yeah, but as we said earlier, like, I feel like self-fulfillment is one of those things where, like, there's so many books about now, and there's so many people telling you that you can be happy, and like, it just takes like one click of the fingers and you'll be this. And it's like, actually, it's not. Like, right now, if we're being brutally honest, like, worldwide, the world is in a real quite shitty place. In every single country, continent around the world, the world's not doing great, it's not, and it's showing. And whether or not it's actually the case, or whether or not it's because we have news and media outlets which literally tell us all the time that, this is shit, that's shit, this isn't going to plan. This is where self-fulfillment can be quite hard, because a lot of people find fulfillment in work, for example. Yeah. And then people are telling you now, let's be honest, the people that are telling you now are the ones that have shit tons of money and have either got to that because they've worked really hard, or potentially they've just worked their way in out of maybe some luck, some, what they know and who they know. But those people telling you like, oh, like, work shouldn't be your life and you shouldn't do this, like, that's then giving you the counterproductive thing where it's like, well, okay, well, I would quite like to be able to afford like my lifestyle, you know what I mean, and be able to have this. And so actually, I do need to put a lot of time and energy into work. But because it might not make us mentally happy, we're suddenly told that we shouldn't really be doing it. And it's the same with like everything, really. I think that's where also body positivity came about. Big statement, I'm not going to go down that route today.
Yeah.
But like, it's the same kind of thing of those that are, we always go to this, the pinnacle. It could be a pinnacle of an opinion, it could be a body, it could be a job, it could be anything. But it's always the ones at the top that are telling the ones below them that everything that they're doing is either wrong or shouldn't be done. You know what I mean? And that's when
Yeah.
I think you try and find fulfillment in things, and actually right now all we're doing is just trying to fix ourselves 24/7. Like,
Yeah.
we're trying to like get on social media and refresh, hoping for somebody to like
Everybody's looking for the next best answer to,
everything.
and I feel like we've both been there. We've both fallen prey to fad diets where you're like, okay, this is going to be the thing that turns it around for me. And we've hired coaches, we've done all the diets, we've done all the supplements, we've pretty much ticked all the boxes off. And from
Yeah,
our
but
experience, it just comes down to everyday application. And for you to do that, you need to be able to pat yourself on the back when you do the right thing, because
yeah,
waiting
but
for
I
somebody
think
to do that for you is going to be counterproductive.
yeah, and I think, you know, obviously, like if we went back to something like relatives, you know, there are these things where if you're doing something new or you want to try and get some people involved, that like most of the time they won't want to, and
Yeah.
that going back to you being your own support system is that when somebody goes like, no, I don't want to do that shit, or I don't want to be part of this, or in a way don't necessarily say it but they action it in some way or manner, do you know what I mean, that you need to then turn around and go, okay, well, I'm doing it for myself, I'm not doing it for anybody else. And that is one thing where it's hard, because when you get something new or you are better or you've made yourself better or anything like that, it is that thing that's like, share it, fucking
Yeah.
share it right now.
Yeah.
I need to share the fact
Because
I'm having a good time.
you touched on this. We had a conversation about this, so outside of the podcast. But Georgia touched on the fact that we've been brought up being told constantly, "Well done," or
Oh,
there's
it's the
some
dental
level
appointment I brought up.
gratification when we grow up as children. When you go to the dentist, when you do something, someone's always telling you, "Well done,
Here's
well
a
done,
like,
well
here's a
done,
sticker,
well done."
here's a sweetie, here's a this, and they're constantly rewarding
Which
you.
is not to say that it's a bad thing.
No,
but
but there's the
it's
difference between reward in the sense of, okay, you've done something very, very well, or I guess as a child, it's like pushing past barriers, isn't it? Where you're like, you feel like, oh, I've done something, yay. Otherwise, you're going to be stood there screaming as a child,
And
like in the pram. Like,
this is the process of self progression is one of the only things in life that requires delayed gratification, because all the work that you put in right now, you're not going to see the immediate results. You're only going to see the results 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks down the line.
even longer than that most of the time. Like, if you want to be making some substantial change to yourself, you need to be working on yourself literally all the time.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there
So if
is there is no
nobody's-
stop. There isn't a stop to like what you should be.
So
aware
my
of,
question to you is, if nobody, let's say hypothetically, if nobody's going to clap for you, what do you do?
Well, this is the thing, because before, I think inside of you, you know, like that you've done well at something, potentially. There are a lot of people that do, as we've mentioned before, like self-sabotage in some way or another. Normally it's because it's an opposite. I guess it's just, but I guess you do, there are going to be times where you really want somebody to say, like, you look really good, like, or you've done really well. And I think you seek that from those that have always judged upon you to start off with.
Or look down on you, yeah.
Prime example, if you don't come, in my experience, as we mentioned on episode 3, 2, one of those,
1, 2, 3.
I brought up that I didn't come from a family that had weight issues
Yeah.
or overweight, or I didn't come from a family that strove for an unhealthier lifestyle. Now that's like, but I did. I went the complete opposite route.
Sure.
And I think one of my main things was really seeking that, like, one of my family members would have been like, okay, she actually looks really good now, because I'd spent so many years of people being like, she looks like shit, like,
Yeah.
or she's
Or
really
judging you
unhealthy,
for
or
being
judging.
overweight.
And I still think in your brain you're always going to have that thing where it's like, just tell me I look good, just please tell me I look good, I've worked so
Yeah.
fucking hard. And I think sometimes people always say do things for you, which I am a sole believer in, because at the end of the day,
have to, though.
whether you've lost weight or not, like whether you're doing things to help yourself for your future, you are the only one that's going to really see full benefit of it. But, if people have always, there is a thing where you want to prove a point as a human, and I don't think that should be something that, like, I've spent many of my years trying to prove a point, to be quite honest with you.
But I think it could also be a personality based, right?
Yeah, if you've got like quite an addictive personality, or you constantly like, that's something where I find.
No, but I feel like if you're coming from a place where you've been very overweight, and people obviously judging you the way that you look and things like that.
And people judge you,
then
and
you
it's the same on the other scale. I've one of my very, very close friends. She went through her really like anorexia as a teenager, growing up, and it's the same. It's the same end of the scale, like obesity and anorexia, like as much as they are very different psychologically, the same thing comes down when you're those either extremes, the attention it brings on you as to what people think about you. It's like horrific. Like I had a period of my teenage years that I was in shape. It's because I had a trainer that didn't let me eat carbs after 5 and made me run up like 7 hills and didn't stop running for literally ages. And then the WKD and the Smirnoff Ices came about at house parties, and it all went tits up. But like, it's one of those things where from a very young age, people said shit comments to me, like horrible ones. And I've dealt with many clients as well. We have dealt with many clients going through weight who have also received horrible comments from their family and friends.
Yeah, family, friends, husbands saying crazy things.
Crazy shit. Like stuff where you're like,
Crazy.
Where the fuck did that even come
Fighting
from?
talk.
But sometimes the people that say these things are actually like worse off in every sense. Like
mentally, yes, because
Yeah.
you're having to try and drag somebody down because of your own insecurities, and those insecurities will never be addressed until personal action is taken. And the fact that you're taking personal action really confronts people to be like,
quite
why can't
threatening,
I
isn't
pull the
it?
trigger? Why can't I do that? Why can't I exercise? Why can't I eat a nutritious diet? And so on and so forth.
Yeah, and I think,
And it just really makes people feel shit.
Yeah, and then that's when they're like, okay, this is the time to trample on you. And we go back to social media. Like, if you upload something that's perfect, now life is not perfect anyway, perfect, somebody's going to try and find a flaw, because
Yes.
people feel threatened when you potentially upload something that they want or that you have or you are. People are going to be like, red flags. Do you know what I mean? How can I bring this person down, either in my head or in a comment or in an opinion, And it shines through everywhere, like legitimately everywhere.
So I think, this is obviously quite a biased statement, but if you're in that point of having going through a personal journey, then hiring a coach or somebody that actually does care about
that's
your
one thing, is that like
personal-
seeking gratification from external sources, don't get that mixed up from somebody that you have hired to help you, because that is probably, forget the knowledge that we have on exercise, nutrition and mental health and all of this stuff. If we didn't support you, it's just irrelevant, because it's like just reading a book and then just reading the book and never actioning
let's
anything.
give you for those who don't work in the industry, give you a real life example. A client will come in and achieve a personal best in some form, or a lift or a range of motion or some form of personal progression. your trainer will then go and tell all the other trainers who then saw you. Everybody is so encouraging in the fact that you're making personal progression and things like that. So there are certain people that will bat for you and will clap for you because, you know,
Yeah.
we can confidently say that we care pretty much the most more about our clients' progress and well-being than the vast majority of the people
Yeah.
surrounding
Yeah,
them.
and that's also how it should be. I don't think that somebody should be paying for a coach who doesn't give them that level of support
And
because,
if you're not getting that support, then you should then red flags should be going up, in my
like,
opinion.
well, yeah, I think it depends on
Yeah,
your
also
overall goal. Like some people don't
sure,
seek necessarily having somebody to be accountable to. In fact, they
true.
might do really well
That
in
is true.
accountability. They just might not have the knowledge as to structuring a training program or understanding
Yeah,
nutrition more.
I guess.
Not everybody's going to want necessarily somebody to hold their
Sure.
hand all the way through, but there are a majority that do, and that's the
Mm,
reason why they do get a coach, because they want somebody there like a therapist, or like anybody that helps you externally. You've hired because you need
mm,
it, you need their help or their service to a
sure.
degree. And so I do think, if you are coaching people who are going through massive personal journeys and you're not giving them a level of support that you think that you should be, then you need to start doing that. But
Yeah.
on most parts, like, it's your job as a coach is to coach somebody through something, and also be there to not always, wrap you up in cotton wool, but also tell you the direction that you should, not should be going in, that is
Yeah.
advised to do to help
Yeah.
you. But I
Correct.
think in general, hiring a coach is obviously there to help you, I guess, build confidence in a number of different ways, and allow you to, I guess, not constantly seek gratification from others 24/7. But I do find we're in a world now where, like, it's
It's
just
all
not going to, I don't
instant.
think it's going to change. But
No.
I think that those that do constantly share or constantly want to upload their lives and stuff are aware of what people actually, as we said, toxic positivity,
Yeah,
it's
and the fact that it's just not real life though. There's filters, there's lighting, there's
not even that.
we've known
Commentary wise,
we've
we
known
have known people who have genuinely said, and this is what I mean, we have dealt with a few, where people have walked in. Oh my God, babe, you're stunning. Like, you are beautiful. Oh my God, you look amazing. And this is like in a face-to-face
yeah,
situation.
straight to the person's
Comments on the
face.
Instagram, oh my God, you're beautiful. What a body you've got on you. And behind their back, they're like,
What a
she is a
bitch.
fucking bitch. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And you're like, okay, cool. So the flames and the heart eyes and the
Yeah.
photo and the
Yeah.
babes and the this and the that.
You look stunning.
You look stunning.
You're
It's all
amazing.
fucking fake.
Yeah.
So why even bother? Because
It's
you all want gratification on your own, right?
Yeah.
You want to come across like you're a nice person.
Everybody's patting each other on the back, but each with one hand there's a pat and the other hand
So
there's a dagger.
No, that's, yeah.
You know, and that's the thing is it's sometimes getting external gratification from people is just such a throwaway comment for some people. Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
you look
like,
amazing.
and like, this is the thing.
And
Like,
this is you're kind of defining your whole life and things, waiting for people just to throw away these empty comments that they don't actually mean.
yeah, and like, you do upload things on social media because you want people to see them. It's like,
Like we
but
know for
we're
a fact,
ingrained now
for
to
a
do
fact, 100% legit, know people that will post things on their social media, blue ticks and all that.
Oh, yeah.
And then have other people in a WhatsApp group saying,
Oh
I
my
have
God,
posted,
yeah.
please can you then go and comment? And then everybody then goes and comments on the blue tick. Oh my gosh, so that all the algorithm then feeds into each other, all commenting heart eyes and emojis on it. But then when you get them in a room, or one goes to the toilet whilst you're training two people together, then the daggers come out. Then it's
Yeah,
this
but
person's
it reminds me of
nasty,
school.
this person's this,
I
this
don't think you
person's
really
that.
had it because you went to an all-boys school. But
No,
like,
we did, but it was only the first like 3 years whilst everybody kind of figures out the hierarchy of a
definitely
mate.
wasn't the first
No,
3 years for me.
yeah, it was,
Jesus Christ.
but it was always
Fuck, I mean, I think from the get-go.
There was
Like,
always
there's
people being
always
nasty and people call it like my nickname at high school was Fugly, which is short for fucking ugly. So
okay, right, Mark.
do
Let's
you
not
know what
go
I mean?
delve
Like
deep too
let's
much
that's
into.
as far as I got for the
Yeah, but your mum
first.
also used to call you Bubbles. Do you know what I
Exactly, not
mean? Do you know what I mean?
exactly
It's
the
not exactly
hottest
like when
look.
anybody described. I used to get described as this: very pretty face, bubbly personality. What a large
Yeah,
soul.
well,
Bubbly personality doesn't mean
my
anything
mother
other
would
than you're
scream, "Go,
overweight.
Bubble," in front of all, you're 16, 18 years old, in front of like 30 other half-grown men,
Oh
you know?
God, I was doing other things at 16, 18 and being shouted at by my mum called me Bubble. Um, yeah, I mean, like, it is one of those things, though, where to comments fake, it
It's
is not
throwaway. It's
everything.
just,
Like, if you're on social media and you literally only have, like, a very small group and it's, like, your friends and your family that are all very supportive or they want to see stuff, like, kind of like what Facebook is like,
yeah,
oh, wow, do you know what I mean? Hi, Susan, how are you? You know what I mean? That kind of conversation rather than the sort of like heart flames and you're so hot and all of that
yeah.
stuff. I think like that's fine. Like if you've got like people that are just genuinely like a really nice group of people around you,
Yeah.
but on the larger scale of
And
things,
if you've
like
got people that do actually support you through your personal journey, then
hold on to them because fuck, they're rare.
you need to take a double take and show some gratification and appreciation towards those people
But I
that
think overall,
you know.
don't think that like by uploading your life or your progress and stuff like that to stuff like social media or telling the world and stuff that people, one, are actually really going to give a fuck, or two, going to really support you. And this is the sad reality, is the fact that 9 out of 10 times they won't, because there's some kind of past ingrained history in their own brains or mental capacity to like actually willingly see somebody else do well. And I think with stuff like social media, that's where like people were like, oh God, like what's trolling? Do you know what I mean? People can be so nasty when they
Yeah.
want what you have, and it's not necessarily and that's not even like financial terms. I'm
Could
talking
be
in every
anything.
term. Like
Yeah, it could be anything.
people will go out of their way to find those things and those flaws to make sure that in their brains you are not what
You're below them.
you are below them, when it's just, again, it comes down to the individual. It doesn't come down to you and the progress you've made. And it's the same when family or friends ever make remarks about what you look like or how you behave and stuff. Yes, you do need to give a fuck about like what you say
Sure.
in the world. There's so many people that say, and I would say this is one biggest statement I would never actually agree with, is people always say, oh, don't care about what others think about you. I'm like, well, I do care, because we run a business. If people didn't want to, you know what I mean, didn't have a good
Yeah,
vibe
people
about me,
didn't
then
like
that's going to
us,
fuck
then
my
we
business
would.
up.
Yeah.
Like, so I do care what people think about us, because we have a business to
Yes.
uphold, and I'm not going to go and run fucking wild. Do you know what I mean? Go and post it to everybody and then expect that like things wouldn't be affected by that.
Yes.
It would.
Yeah.
So those that say just don't give a fuck about what people think also need to think about the situations of what the individuals are living.
Yeah, the
because
nuanced situation that you're in could be
it's very,
slightly different.
for example, like an influencer saying, "Oh, just don't give a fuck what people think about you." It's really easy because they've got their own crowd. They earn money off of like a fucking
but they
t-shirt
would,
link, and
if
they
the
like
brands dropped them, then they would care. So
yeah, because that's happened a lot recently. And going off of
Yeah.
episode whatever we spoke about, where I said I was against cancel culture, I'm against it only for that. I mean, look, if you've murdered people and been like inherently like awful, then
Yeah,
no.
or a
But
pedo.
that don't say that, Mark, on the podcast.
Do you know what I mean?
You know what I mean, a pedo. Like, no, there's many a things like racist remarks
Yeah,
or stuff like that where people, are they still that person? I don't know. I don't know them. But like, there are things to say that, how can somebody have changed their mindset when they were so horrible or negative about something now? I don't know. But I don't think you're always who you used to, you are. And I think but if you post shit online, maybe you are. Maybe you should be held accountable to what you've done. Like, but then again, I don't think anybody thought internet was going to get as insane as it has, which is like, if you want a tweet from back in 2007, it's going to be found.
This is the one benefit of growing up in Zimbabwe. We had minimal technology.
Yeah, I'm actually so glad I wasn't brought up in the generation that's
Yeah,
being brought up now.
yeah, it's tough. It's hard.
I couldn't even imagine it.
24/7. I could, yeah, like being bullied via like social media or something like that would be
Yeah, because I was bullied
pretty
very badly at
intense.
school, and I think that if that was brought
You
into,
know,
if like
the
cyber stuff was brought in, like luckily we only had stuff like
how
MSN.
the feelings that we feel when people say horrible things to us on social media.
Okay, well we've said nobody really
No,
says
but I'm
that.
just
Nobody
saying
knows. The
we're
good thing
grown up,
is
but
that
not
nobody
not
really
even a
knows who we
teenager.
are. So
Yeah,
as I
but
said from the other episode, people are commenting on probably the information because it didn't work for them, or they don't think that it's right, and that's that sort of right and wrong thing. You know, there is
no, I
always that.
appreciate that. But my point is like we're grown adults, and I can only imagine what it would be like to be very young. You know what I mean? To have that type of
I think
to
you
undergo
bring the
those
behaviour that
emotions.
you show. Do you know what I mean? At the
Yeah.
end of the day, like, you know, when we received our highest amount of, I guess, negativity when it was in the midst of COVID and people were literally stuck to their phones. It was insane, the growth of our business throughout there. Like, you know, because people legitimately were stuck to their
Yeah,
phone. They
everybody
didn't have
was
anything else to do.
indoors.
They were
Yeah.
seeking things from other people to do things, you know. And that's when people were really going in and out. I was just like, for fuck's sake, do you know what I mean? Like, really, like, we don't need these. But because we got
Yeah,
time...
raging about zero
Yeah.
point 0.1 gram of creatine per body weight or something like that.
Call this evidence-based,
Yeah,
lol. Like,
yeah.
literally, it's like...
Capital letters.
Screaming. Anybody that
Screaming.
fucking types in capitals, assess yourself. Like, honestly. Like, no, actually, it's I spell in capitals and I put...
Yeah, so you know, it's circling back. It can be quite testing when you're trying to go through positive changes and people around you and your support don't necessarily see how important it is to you or generally get on board with, you know, the habits and things that you need to change. And sometimes you just need to communicate how important your goals are to you so that people
Yeah,
like your husband or your boyfriend and stuff can support you, or your wife can support
partner
you.
could...
Yeah,
Any partner could just support you in life.
yeah,
Like,
just
going... But look, you know, everybody's got different relationships. You know, some
yeah,
people
it's
don't spend
true.
that much time together. Some people don't really know what's going. You know, so there is a lot of anomalies in situations where it's never really necessarily going to apply to you. But you know, siblings or whatever, like, you know, everybody's got them to some degree or another. You know. You want that circle around you to be closest, but going off of, I guess, the overall point of the podcast, what we were going to speak about, which we've gone quite around in circles today.
Can I just interrupt you and ask you a question quickly? When you underwent all your weight loss, how did you like stay motivated with your own kind of like self appreciation?
Because I liked the way I looked, to
Was
be
it
quite
just
honest with
okay?
you. I think it looked in the sense of that's also talking mentally and physically. Like, I obviously was incredibly unhealthy. I had a number of different addictions.
Would you say that you felt unhealthy?
Yeah, like,
Okay.
fuck, not only did I used to eat a lot, but I never used to eat around people. That's one of the biggest things that I would say I see in a lot of very overweight people that we've dealt with at the start, is that people don't really eat that much around others, but they'll eat in secret, because it's that thing where it's like you're kind of ashamed. And as I said, going back to the point, especially if you've been around others in your not support circle, but your family or whatever, which or friend group, which are not overweight or anything
Yeah.
like that, like
They don't
eating
understand.
to grotesque binge terms, or doing things that is too extreme around others, you're always fearing that somebody's then going to like reiterate that comment they've made, which is like, you're like, she's overweight, or she's not, you know what I mean, or she eats too much, or what's she doing, like, you know.
Yeah.
And I think actually when you stop that, or you have control over it, I think it's different for everybody.
So during your entire process, how many people were like actively supportive towards your goals,
Um,
apart from me?
Okay, number
Obviously.
one, you literally came in legit right at the end, so I'm not even going to count you as one. Sorry. There we go. That's one thing. That's an argument for later. Oh, I wouldn't say many.
You'd say zero.
yeah, I mean, I probably people want to, I know some people will be listening to this, so I don't, yeah, minimal, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah,
If not,
like one or two, basically.
yeah, if not below that.
Okay, zero. The answer's zero.
How I felt, yeah, I think then we could, yeah, how I felt at the time, I felt like I had minimal
Support.
support for a
Yeah.
a challenging thing that I went through. But then again, I did it because I got to the verge of like, fucking do it, or you're either going to have type 2 diabetes, or you're
Sure.
probably going to have an early fucking death, because the way that you go about things is just extreme. So it was like, either do that, do you value life enough, do you know what I mean, or, and at the time I probably didn't really value my life that much, to be quite honest with
No,
you.
but
That's why you,
generally when you're younger, you have a very different outlook on life, though.
yeah, you, well, obviously when you're younger, you don't really know much. You think you know a lot, but you don't really know much. But like, you know, you start to learn.
No, I
that you're
don't
like, oh my
think.
God,
I
my
think we're
parents
generally
were
getting
right.
to the point where nobody really knows what's going on. So
Well, what do you mean?
just in life in general.
Nobody knows.
No,
I'll be
I think
interested.
we're
Anyone
all
listening, do you know what's going on in your
bumbling
life?
through.
Like,
Yeah.
literally, do you know what the next 5 years will hold?
We're
No.
all failing forward.
Oh my God, do you know what I mean? That is the most negative
No,
thing.
it's not failing
No,
forward.
it is. That is really fucking.
It's
That's
not.
toxic positivity
That's-
right there.
It's not.
That is negative. That is really negative. I think we're all doing really well to be dealing with the situations that we have done worldwide for the past however many fucking years. And we've got no idea how long this malarkey is going to be going on for, you know. So my best advice is, if you're going through a personal journey, you want a supportive environment around you, obviously. It's not always going to be the case, but you've also got to narrow it down as to your purpose and your
yeah,
why in the
best
situation.
case scenario is you've got somebody that's going to help you and appreciates what you're trying to do. And
And if you're
from our
going on social
experience-
media to upload a photo and you've got no other thoughts around it, and it's just me on holiday or me having a good time, and that's great. But if you're going on social media to upload the fact that you need somebody to tell you well done,
or
just
you
remember,
look a certain way,
none of it's really coming from
it's
the
a throwaway.
heart.
It can be a throwaway comment, which is
Which
neither
sometimes,
here nor there.
you know, you know, as we said, compliments are lovely, but there is a level where you shouldn't be seeking for those compliments all the time, because when and if, and it will, you know, for example, if you do a huge weight loss journey, it's going to stop at some fucking point, do you know what I mean? And that's when you're sat there going, okay, why is nobody saying well done to me now? I need to do
Yeah.
something else to make sure that people know
Yeah.
that I am still, to a
Doing
degree,
X.
doing something. That is the mentality that you need to forget about, because at the end of the day, there are minimal people
Yeah.
that will take your care and your well-being into actual
We
play.
also tend to get caught up with all the negatives as well. We really focus in on the negatives. Like we'll have people do their weekly check-in forms where 99% of their week has been absolutely amazing, and the vast majority of the attention is brought upon the negative things, where in reality there should be some level of
yeah.
self-congratulations, pat on the back for literally getting 99%. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, but I think everybody always strives for, as we said, for people will find a flaw in everything, because
Yeah.
like, God forbid somebody could actually have a really good week, you know. And actually, you know, as we said, like, this has all changed a lot in a matter of a few years, and it's getting progressively,
more apparent.
yeah, as the years and the months and the weeks literally go by, that like, you know, the use of stuff where that we are constantly in contact with people and all of this is becoming, you know, it's just too much. So like, don't expect that you're going to be receiving or seeking, you know, you don't go on to places like the internet to get gratification, because even if you do get it and somebody says, wow, you look amazing, you know, it's not bringing anything to you lifelong.
It's just the small dopamine hit, and then that's it.
That's it. And then you're going to carry on going on seeking every time you make some kind of progress in your life. And we shouldn't need to do that just to like get by.
Like Georgia always says, self-progression and getting in shape and being healthy and living a healthy life is not.
It's not like something that you should implement into your life. It's a way of life.
It's a way of life.
And
but
that's,
you shouldn't be rewarded for getting healthy. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that is
well,
the
this
reward.
is okay. This
That
is
is the
something
reward.
that we're definitely going
Getting
to have to talk
in
about.
shape and improving your quality of life is the reward. You don't need
You don't need
to be
financial reward.
mollycoddled and get a participation award and a gold star.
This is stuff that we have actually written for another podcast, but as a brief summary to kind of end it, you know, there are a lot of people in our health and wellness industry who are either going back to the pinnacle at the top of the top, or feel that if their business won't grow without them potentially giving a large reward at the end of something that somebody purchases. So those financial awards for challenges or people, it's lovely. Of course, people want 10,000 US dollars, 5,000 US dollars. Fuck, who doesn't? Do you know what I mean? But it's that thing where it's like you're only doing this for your health to get that financial reward, and actually the biggest reward is your health. It's not fucking the $5,000 in your bank account.
Your mental and physical health is the reward.
Yeah, and I think that you can make some fantastic change being motivated by something, and a lot of people are motivated by financial reward. Yes. I think to a certain degree, you know, if you're working, like we all kind of have to be slightly motivated by money, otherwise. Nobody would go to work most of the time, you know. So there is those things, but in terms of your health, like, don't see it as, oh, I'm going to do it because I'm going to get that money, or I have potential.
Or you feel like you can only pull the trigger on self-care habits because there is a carrot dangling in front of your face.
Because at the end of the day, like, that's not going to get you the long term. That's going to get you the short term, and you probably won't even win it anyway. Sorry, it's like the lottery.
Yeah.
You know, you've really got to try. But anyway, that's for the next conversation. We're going to be delving deep into some topics in the coming ones, stuff like menopause, menstrual cycles, goal setting, supplementation, big one, and just overall lifestyle habit stuff. So stay tuned for more podcasts coming up, and we hope you're enjoying them so far. As we said in the last one, we will be bringing in options for sort of feedback, and we're going to bring in some cool things as well to This Contains Garlic. So thanks for making it this far in episode 4, and
have a good weekend.
Oh, it's not the weekend though, is it, Mark? Well, it is the weekend. We're going to be... Yeah, anyway. We're filming this. We're recording this on a Sunday, so it is the weekend, but we're going live on Monday. So have a good week. Would be better. Okay. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. See you later. Bye.